Annotation. When my father was a student, he did not have to answer annotation questions. Instead, he was given a passage and instructed to explain that passage with reference to the context. Fundamentally, there is not much of a difference between the instruction annotate and the instruction explain with reference to the context. To annotate means to write a note about a passage after intellectually interacting with it. The note has to be comprehensive in explaining the passage. All parts of the passage have to be touched by the note. The reader should not be left in doubt regarding any significant aspect of the passage. The basic method to be adopted by the student while annotating a passage is the method of analysis and evaluation. But before doing that, the student should fix the context of the passage. He should disclose through his answer his familiarity with the identity of the work from which the passage is taken, and also his familiarity with the identity of the author of the work. Above all, the student is expected to share his personal response to the passage with the reader. Let us now go into the details. An annotation has to be divided into 3 paragraphs. Some teachers advise students to organize their annotation answers in 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph is the introduction paragraph. This is a very important part of the annotation because it is the part of the annotation which catches the eye of the examiner first. You have to put your best foot forward. In this paragraph, you have to speak about the work from which the passage is taken and about the author of the work. It would be advisable to use a striking quotation if you can in this paragraph, but don't misquote. Better not to quote than to misquote. You have to ensure that the introduction paragraph is a powerful paragraph. Remember, the first impression has to be the best impression. Some teachers say that the second paragraph has to be the context paragraph. This is fine at the school level where the number of possible annotation passages is limited. But I am not very sure whether this is feasible at the undergraduate level or the postgraduate level where the syllabus is nightmarishly vast. If you have all the details, it would be certainly advisable to have a separate context paragraph. If you have the full details, who spoke the given passage, to whom, in what situation, in which part of the text, well, go ahead and allocate a separate paragraph for the context. For example, if the passage is from Shakespeare's Hamlet, you have to give the act number and the scene number. You have to identify the speaker. You have to identify the listener or the listeners. You have to locate the context in which the words are spoken, and you have to explain why the words are spoken. It would be certainly excellent to have a separate context paragraph. But if you have only meager details at your command, it would be dangerous to have a separate paragraph for the context, because you would be unnecessarily drawing the attention of the examiner to the fact that you do not have the full details of the context. If you don't have all the details of the context, it would be advisable to integrate the context details into the introduction paragraph, in which case your annotation will have only 3 paragraphs. The central part of the annotation is the paragraph in which you carry out your evaluation, your analysis, your assessment of the given passage. This is the most important paragraph of the annotation. This is the heart of the annotation. In this paragraph, you intellectually interact with the passage and explain the passage. Some students think that this is the most difficult part of the annotation, but I personally feel that this is the easiest part of the annotation. What you have to do is to focus critical attention on the given passage. Don't beat about the bush. Focus attention on the passage and tell the examiner what the passage is like. Is it a long passage or a short passage? What about the diction of the passage? What about the punctuation of the passage? Why has the author used that specific diction and that specific punctuation? Is there anything extraordinary about the passage? Is there any word or any part of the passage which stands out in the passage? What is the holistic effect of the passage on the mind of the reader? Have you been able to identify any defect in the passage, any flaw in the passage, any shortcoming in the passage? You have to intellectually interact with the passage and explain it thoroughly and comprehensively. The basic methodology to be adopted is the methodology of analysis and evaluation. Analysis is cutting something into bits in order to understand it better. Evaluation is the assessment of that which has been broken into parts. You should analyze and then evaluate. You should not leave the reader in doubt regarding any significant aspect of the passage under discussion. The last paragraph of the annotation is the comment paragraph. As in the case of the introduction paragraph, You can try to use a striking quotation if you have such a quotation at your command. You can work out a comparison, or you can work out a contrast between the passage which is given and some other passage. Above all, you can share your personal response to the given passage. Allow the reader to understand what you personally think about the passage. Please take care to ensure that the common paragraph is an excellent paragraph. The last impression has to be a lasting impression. I would like to point out that the number of detailed texts is limited. Even at the postgraduate level, you have only a limited number of detailed texts. So I would advise you to prepare an introduction paragraph and a comment paragraph from each of the detailed texts. You should thoroughly prepare an introduction paragraph and also a comment paragraph from each of the texts in the detail list, so that the moment you see the annotation passage and you identify that that passage is from a particular text, you can immediately write the introduction paragraph. Thank you.